Big it up, big it up. Hearing my voice. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Community YouTube channel. You are now tuned in to the Raw Takes Weekly Recap Show. I am your host, the Notorious Nerdy D, and I am joined tonight by the love of my life, Miss Level Up Lauren.
What's up, y'all?
Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast network, we have an amazing show for you tonight. Make sure to stop what you're doing right now and hit the like button and leave us a comment to help us get into those algorithms. Wherever you're consuming this content, whatever is appropriate there, hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment. Top story of the week right off the bat. Unless you have been living under a rock, you probably already know by now that drama went down on Monday Night Raw. It has been reported by multiple sources that current women's tag team champions Sasha Banks and Naomi left Monday Night Raw because of creative differences, leaving the show to pivot and change the main event. The two sides are telling very different stories. The WWE released a statement that said when Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into the WWE Head of Talent Relations, John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand and placed their tag team championship belts on the desk and walked out. They claimed that they weren't respected enough as tag team champions, and even though they had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with two of their opponents, even though they had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequence. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. All right, let that digest. Let that sink in. Here lies the problem when wrestling kind of becomes a business versus a social construct is what a lot of people want it to be. When you work for a company, when you work for a business and you sign an agreement, you sign a contract to perform for said company, it's hard to have a lot of sympathy for somebody who just takes their shit and goes home. Who knows they have a grievance, knows they have a problem, and instead of, you know what, I'll perform this tonight, then afterwards we're going to talk about it, they just pick up their shit and they go home. And the people who do this, they always claim, I'm doing it to make the company better. But the problem is it always looks like it comes from a place of, I don't like what's happening to me, I got to go home, right? And I know Sasha Banks knows what's in her contract. She signed a contract. She knows what that contract says. And I highly doubt that anywhere within Sasha Banks' contract, it says that she has creative control over her character or what stories she's involved in, right? And if the reports are true that Sasha Banks was unhappy with the way this match was laid out, whether it was her having to pin Naomi, whether it was being uncomfortable with who you're working with, whatever it was, whether she was upset with like the perception of how the tag team titles are portrayed on TV, that's all great. I can even sympathize with all of that. I sympathize with that position. But what you can't do, you can't just pack your shit up and go home. I can even see, like, after Monday Night Raw, going onto social media and openly questioning WWE's creative motives. If you brought it to the, like, talent relations, John Laurinaitis, if apparently she talked to Vince McMahon, I don't know if that's true or not. If they're not listening, then you could go on social media and you can get ready for a shitstorm and you can air out your grievances. But when you just pick up your ball and you go home, when you're contracted to have an appearance in front of fans, I think you immediately lose the moral high ground in this situation. You lose the ability, for sure, to control your narrative, right? WWE gets to shape this story now. And it'll be hard for Naomi or Sasha Banks to change the narrative without directly destroying their relationship with WWE. At this point, they're going to have to just call WWE fucking liars And that's probably severing your relationship with WWE. And I don't know their contract status, but WWE's not just going to release these two women. WWE's going to, they'll torture them. They'll put them in bad positions. They'll ruin their character and their standing within the wrestling world. And this isn't like, let's be clear. This isn't the first time that Sasha Banks has done this thing where she throws a fit, kind of goes home. In 2019, she was a tag team champion as well. She didn't like what was going on. I believe Bayley was her partner, and they were scheduled to lose the belts to the Iconics, and she just took her shit and went home, right? And WWE kind of acquiesced to her whims and brought her back and made a big fucking deal of Sasha Banks. But the problem is in this situation, I think it's time. It's time for us as fans, and it's time for WWE. And I imagine WWE's already kind of taken this look, but it's us as fans to take a hard look at, like, what does Sasha Banks really mean to WWE? And more importantly, what is Sasha Banks' position in pro wrestling? When you become a difficult employee, and that's just a nice way of saying Sasha Banks has become a spoiled brat, you're put under a microscope, and especially in pro wrestling where everything seems to be run by relationships and politics, right? Whose back are you scratching? And when you're difficult, you just like, they're that much harder on the things you do. And I won't sit here, Lauren, I won't sit here and tell you that Sasha Banks is not a marketable wrestling commodity. She's marketable, right?
Yeah.
The argument that I can make about Sasha Banks is that maybe the brand of Sasha Banks is actually more valuable than the person that is Sasha Banks. The glitter, right? She's always got the best outfits. The music, Snoop Dogg's on the song. She's got the coolest hair. It's the whole package that WWE and Sasha Banks have put together that kind of distracts us from the fact, let's be real honest, what's the last promo that Sasha Banks cut that made you go, oh shit, she's nice on a microphone, right? Just blew you out of the water. What's the last match that Sasha Banks had that you said, oh damn, Sasha Banks is one of the best women's wrestlers in the business. She's above average, no doubt, but she's below average on a microphone. And she's solid, but she's not an overly exciting wrestler to watch. I mean, when I watch Sasha Banks, there's a package. Like, it's the music, it's the entrance, it's the glitter, it's all those things I'm enamored with. And then she starts to wrestle, and it's just another wrestler.
I definitely love all those things about her.
I agree. But I'm saying she's marketable and she moves merchandise and she's important to the company, but you have to be realistic. Like the WWE machine, it moves on without Sasha Banks. She's not a pillar of the company. The shows are not being built around Sasha Banks, and that's for this reason. And I even go as far to go, out of the 4 horsewomen, which are the 4 women from NXT that were at one time like best friends that now seem to have all grown apart, I think Sasha Banks lacks the most polish all the way around out of all 4 women. I can make the argument that she doesn't do any single one thing better than all the other women, right? If we look at Charlotte Flair, Charlotte is the superior wrestler.
Yeah.
I won't argue that Sasha Banks is not a better in-ring wrestler than Charlotte Flair.
Definitely.
Bayley has more dimension to her character and overall just a more well-rounded personality and like wrestling character. Sasha Banks glitters. But big flashy hair, but her character is not well fleshed out. Like, you're not the boss of anything. Like, she does nothing that is like boss-esque other than just call herself the boss all the time.
And dress cool.
And then Becky Lynch obviously has way more charisma, way more personality, way more mic skills, and probably equal or better in the ring. So when you look at that, like, Sasha Banks is the low man on that totem pole. And you're still the tag team champion, and you have a problem with the way your booking goes. It sounds more to me less about Sasha Banks, like, I'm making the company better, and more like a little bit of jealousy of, like, she's not SmackDown champion. Ronda came in and took that. And Bianca is the Raw Women's Champion. And if you look on a path forward, they don't have a lot going in the women's tag team division. So there's not a lot for Sasha Banks to do other than, like, I think they were talking about her going over on SmackDown and challenging for the SmackDown Women's title and not winning, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the funniest part of when something like this happens is getting to go on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and getting to hear all these like hardcore wrestling people and the IWC. They start white knighting, especially when it's a female, especially when it's, even when it's a male. What they do is they always jump to the side of the wrestler because that's the hipster thing to do is to get, if you're not behind the wrestler, you're part of the problem, right? And what they forget is that like wrestling is a business. WWE is only here to make money. That's what it exists. It's an entertainment company to make money. And people in the IWC, they like to view wrestling as like a social construct. And it's not. It's a business. It's a business designed to make money. And that's it. It doesn't matter that Sasha Banks is not happy with her story. She gets paid to do what WWE tells her to do. And that's it. It ends there.
Yeah.
If your contract doesn't say that you have the ability to have input, that's it. That's where it ends for you. The other funny part of when things like this happen is you get people from other wrestling companies like CM Punk fucking speaking out, and he wants to speak out on anything that happens in WWE. CM Punk wants to fucking throw his 2 cents in. But then he wants to bitch and complain about other people who throw their 2 cents in. He's the most confusing motherfucker in the world. But then you get people like Road Dogg, right? And Road Dogg came out and said that he thinks this whole thing is a work. Quote, I think it's a publicity stunt to try and add some heat to the tag team titles. But again, that's just me. And I'm a cynical worker who's been around the business my whole life. So I think everything is a work. And while I agree a little bit with Road Dogg that like the Naomi aspect of this bothers me. It feels off. I still like, there's a small percentage of me that says like, this could be a work. But the reality is it's probably too intelligent of a move to give like WWE the credit that they would do something like this. Yeah. It's like in retrospect, I go, oh fuck, this would have been a great way to get some heat onto the tag team titles. I don't think that's what this is. It feels too much to me like this has to be real. But I also feel like don't you feel like the Usos would have stepped up and pulled Naomi to the side and said like, hey, just really make sure you know what you're doing when you do this. This is our livelihood. Our success comes from this company, especially a company who has extended numerous opportunities to the Usos for the times that they've kind of fucked up in life, and the WWE's kind of brought them back in and reintroduced them. I don't know. It just seems like Naomi would have handled that more professionally.
Yeah, well, what was her name? Arian, right? Is that her old tag team?
Yeah, Cameron is wrestling fans know her.
Sorry, Cameron. Well, she kind of came out and said that basically she felt like somebody was manipulating her into making that decision, that she wouldn't have just walked out.
But that would have to be Sasha Banks, right?
Yeah,
it would
so many
almost
words
have
she
to be.
says that.
It would have to be Sasha. And I think we watched that podcast with Stone Cold, and I didn't know. I only saw the clip of Sasha talking, but I don't know if she was in character or if she really, when she started saying things like, I'm on Vince McMahon's level. Is Sasha living in a delusion that she's that important to professional wrestling? I don't know. Because my problem is, if the report I've heard is that Naomi was scheduled to win the 6-pack challenge match and go on to face Bianca Belair. So is there not a level of disrespect even to Bianca Belair that's not being talked about in this situation, right? That Naomi thinks that a match between her and Bianca doesn't benefit Bianca Belair's career, and that she doesn't have a duty to help Bianca on this journey, her early journey of like building up her title reign. It just like, it all seems fucking weird, and it does feel like it was kind of orchestrated by a spoiled brat to me. And the rumor is, the last thing that I read, the rumor is there's zero sympathy for Sasha Banks in the back, in the locker room, which means one of two things for Sasha Banks. And it means either A, this is a work and the wrestlers are not going to get involved, or B, Sasha Banks isn't well liked by her peers. And that feels like that could be a reality at this point. Like, it feels like she might have kind of bratty tendencies. And
yeah,
that's cancerous for a locker room. And no matter how good you are, if you look at the WWE and you look at the women's division, and especially with Alexa coming back, Asuka coming back, I'm sure Bayley's right around the corner. Like, WWE doesn't need Sasha Banks in order to have the best division in women's wrestling, but they're also not just going to release her and let her run to AEW. They will make her life miserable. Yeah. Overall, just super unprofessional move. If you're Naomi, you're Sasha Banks, you know what you were doing when you signed your WWE contract. You know that you're put into a situation where you don't have creative freedom. You know you work for a company that sometimes does a lot of stupid shit in wrestling, and that fat paycheck is supposed to make up for all of it.
Yeah. All
that money they put into your bank account, you're supposed to just kind of swallow your pride, speak up, say your piece, but don't take your ball and go home.
Yeah. So, did you see the article where they said that MJF isn't the only talent in AEW that's currently unhappy?
I did. So I did see this article. I saw an article that said basically the AEW locker room's not all peaches and cream like the IWC wants to make it out to be.
Yeah.
There's a source from the AEW locker room that tells us that MJF is hardly the only talent feeling some level of discontent, describing the backstage atmosphere as chaotic with a lack of structure, with common complaints ranging from not knowing the angles or finishes until close to being showtime, and things like redundant finishes and angles that set up matches being very frustrating. I've made this argument for months, motherfuckers. I've been saying this for a long ass time. AEW there's nothing wrong with the wrestling that takes place on AEW, but it feels like a shit show. Like if there was ever a definition for the word clusterfuck, it's AEW. It's a bunch of random ass matches just fucking fucked into a television show. They just slam this shit all together. It feels so unorganized. The best way I can put it is it feels like a weekly all-star game of wrestling, which it sounds like a good thing, but all-star games are great on paper. They fucking suck to watch. There's no through thread. There's nothing that holds the show together from beginning to end. It's a bunch of indie darlings who the IWC loves and the internet goes fucking nuts for. It's a bunch of these guys doing high spots, and then you get the same finish like 3 times a night. Post-match beatdown, like Jay says, right? Post-match beatdown, post-match beatdown, post-match beatdown. Oh, tonight we're just going to do 7 tables matches because nobody fucking talked to each other.
Yeah.
It does feel... And I get the sense, even in like reading Tony Khan's latest comments, that he's trying to rein people back in. But when you build this whole fucking company on this idea of like the wrestlers do whatever the fuck they want and they get to be happy. But I said it a couple weeks ago, right? It's silly. It's fucking silly to believe that AEW will be able to keep this many high profile wrestlers happy on a roster. Like, it's fucking silly to believe that you could keep these guys happy for this long.
Yeah.
They lost Cody, and more are going to jump ship. More people are going to look around and go, this isn't what I signed up for. And look, I make the claim all the time, MJF's gone. He's going to sign with WWE. He wants WrestleMania. But it may not be MJF. It may be other talent that leave. But the thing that I think is coming in professional wrestling is I think there's about to be a huge expansion of wrestling companies that are like indie-like. Because you got like Freddie Prinze is starting a wrestling company, right? You got Control Your Narrative is doing its wrestling thing. Mm-hmm. And that's just the beginning.
I just saw a new one coming out.
But once these wrestlers start to like understand what Twitch is, because it's like video game streaming, right? At one time, like Ninja and those guys, they were the only guys video game streaming. Then everybody figured out, oh, fuck, I just need a camera and an Elgato and I can fucking be a video game streamer. Mm-hmm. And these wrestling guys are going to understand that, like, what, a ring costs $10,000? What, a camera costs another couple $1,000s? And now I'm broadcasting on Twitch. And I don't need to broadcast to millions of people. If I broadcast to thousands of people,
it gives you a chance to get out there.
It's everything I need, right?
Yeah.
And Tony Khan, the funny thing is, like, Tony Khan knows exactly what MJF is worth. Mm-hmm. Don't fucking kid yourself. He knows what MJF is worth when he hits the open market. And the fact that Tony Khan can't get MJF to sign an extension at this point, it's ludicrous. It's because Tony Khan doesn't want to, his pocket, like, I know we joke and say Tony Khan has unlimited money, but he doesn't. At a certain point, he has to look around and go, who's really worth what I'm paying them?
Yeah.
I do believe that in 2024 that there's a high chance that MJF goes to WWE, and we got to quit with the fucking MJF can't work the WWE style rhetoric. Like, that shit's stupid. He uses the tools that are available to him in whatever situation he's in. Right now, he's in a company where he's able to cuss and say really dark, nasty things. But that doesn't mean that MJF doesn't understand the psychology of a place like WWE and can't be at the highest level in a PG company. Like, it's ludicrous to act like he can't adapt if he has to go do and work a different way in order to A, either make more money, or B, just have a bigger spotlight shined on top of him. Look, I've said it, I'm gonna say it again. The AEW roster, it's going to shrink and it's going to tighten up. Adam Cole is not gonna stay happy. Where the fuck is Miro? Right?
Oh shit, I forgot about him.
Keith Lee's out here wrestling jobbers. Remember, he was going to come over and take the world by storm.
Yeah.
If you're not the latest shiny toy or whatever they fucking call it, like the Joker, the guy that the big surprise return, if you're not the new shiny toy to fall out of the WWE toy box, then Tony Khan doesn't want to play with you anymore. He cast you to the side. You're good when you first get there. Adam Cole. Which, by the way, Bryan Danielson, something happened tonight.
I did. I saw that.
Fucking leg got stuck. What? But this is the other, like, rinky-dink shit of, like, having the fucking ramp come up and touch the fucking ring because we can't fill up arenas big enough to put a legitimate fucking stage in. Yeah. Like, that's the kind of shit that I go, you guys got to quit defending everything AEW does. That kind of shit, like, that's circus wrestling. Mm-hmm. All right, so up next, I'm going to get into my Raw takes from this last Monday Night Raw. But first, let's check out this video, original video from J Knows Wrestling.
That's when I told them, hell, you don't have to go home, but you sure do need to get the hell out of here. Oh, hell, we're doing sanitizer, okay? So there's a Chinese flu going around, okay? And you think, hell, Chinese flu, that should just be for Chinamen, right? No, the Chinese flu anybody could get. Apparently this sanitizer wards off the bad spirits that bring the Chinese flu. So granolas and peanut butters are the main foods that keep you full and focused in case you gotta go. Alright? Subscription to Soma's in here, alright? Because, you know, good old Doug Dillinger Jr. likes to keep it loose. Likes to keep it light, alright? So, you know, don't want to ever get caught in a tight situation, now you always want to keep an extra bottle of Somas in your fanny pack, okay? The reason being is we're not just protecting these pro wrestlers physically, alright? We're protecting them up here, alright? I'm not saying it's either good or bad, I'm just saying. Good old Doug Dillinger Jr. keeps in his fanny pack the Ambisol, okay? There might be a segment when you get socked in the face by a pro wrestler. Alright? Okay? Not gonna lie to you, it hurts when you get hit by these, man. They're big men. Well, not so much so here in AEW, but they're big men, and it hurts. Alright? So you put this Ambisol in the mouth, numbs it up, keep in your bag the throwing star. Alright? And you're like, hey, Doug Dillinger Jr., aren't throwing stars illegal? Yes. If you get caught, okay, in the proper stance to, bam, pop out my throwing star and not hurt anybody, okay? But this is a very special throwing star. If you look closely, it's 77 tools in one, alright? So if an audience member has a squeaky chair that's distracting to other audience members, bam, I can stop and tighten it up. I'm going to go over the 3 most important tools, alright? And you want to keep them on you just in case that fanny pack gets lost, dropped, or stolen. Alright? Not gonna say all 3 of those have happened to me, but I've been protecting pro wrestlers my whole life. Alright? So don't use walkie-talkies here at AEW Security. Alright? Those radio waves get to mixing with the 5G, makes everybody walking around like zombies. Okay? We don't get that mixed in with the 5G causing everybody craziness. Alright? So we use the whistle. And you're like, well, hell, Doug Dillinger Jr., how do you communicate with whistle? We got different whistlings for different things, okay? So we got to whistle them in case I need you to dash. Get down there and help me, all right? But I may have another whistle and just say like, hey, look up there in the balcony. See that little hottie up there? You know, so we got different whistlings for different things just as good as the walkie-talkies, okay? Now, on your list of important things I have in AEW security is the mask, okay? I wear myself a gator, go Bulldogs, and this is why you don't ever see a security guy more than once getting hurt on the show, okay? But the same guy may get hurt 3 different times, all right? So you may be sitting there trying to stop a wrestler in seg 1, and bam, you get thrown through a wall, okay? But in seg 2, even though these writers have had all this time not to do this, in seg 2, you gotta stop 2 wrestlers from fighting. What do? Well, if you would have had your mask on in seg 1, in seg 2, you could have popped that mask off and done your job just fine. But since you didn't wear a mask in seg 1 and forgot your mask in seg 2, now wrestling don't look real no more. I have a very sophisticated flashlight that I can, yeah, see, I get you at any moment with my flashlight, alright? Now, I paid $8 for this, I splurged a little, protecting pro wrestling is my life, so that's why I was able to buy such a thing, alright? A fanny pack is a very safe place to have that there flashlight, alright? AEW fans are definitely afraid of the light, alright? They're just like vampires. Something about living in mama's basement, sitting on the computer all day, has messed up their eyes a little bit, so they can't stand the light, alright? So one of them trying to stop you, pow! You got them, okay?
All right.
All right. All right, so this next segment is going to be Raw Takes. I'm just going to give y'all some quick rundowns, my thoughts for Monday Night Raw. I'll kind of bounce them back and forth here with Lauren, and we'll see what comes of it. All right, Lauren.
Okay.
Why the fuck are we acting like Bobby Lashley made some clever move when he escaped the cage in the cage match against Omos after being thrown through a fucking wall? I never understand this. So he got his ass beat up. He's thrown through the cage, lands on the cage, kind of fucking stumbles onto the ground, and all of a sudden he's like pointing to his head, like
the amazement,
like I fucking did it, like I outsmarted. No, you got your ass thrown out of the cage.
Yeah,
I
hated that match.
I did too. I hate everything about that so far.
Yeah,
I think Omos, he's just not ready, and I think he's making Bobby Lashley look
cheapen it.
Yeah, he's kind of cheapening Bobby Lashley. I don't like that. Mustafa Ali. So Mustafa Ali's obviously being punished at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because it felt like he was headed towards a feud with Theory, but then he ended up feuding with The Miz, and then he's fucking getting beat up by Veer Mahan and saved by... That whole segment was a clusterfuck of who the fuck knows what the fuck was happening.
I agree.
Like, and at first I thought like Mustafa Ali was coming back and they were going to give him an opportunity to do something kind of meaningful. And now it looks like he's just a punching bag.
It was so much of like a clusterfuck that it wasn't even on the Hulu version. I had to go and Google it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I think like they used him to put Veer Mahan over. I think they're going to use him to put The Miz over. And then ultimately he's going to get a United States title shot and he's going to put Theory over. Lots of being put over there.
Yeah.
All right, so on Friday Night SmackDown, we're supposed to get tag team unification, and they better fucking do it this time because I'm so tired. Like, we get teased that they're going to do it, then they pull back, and all the reports say they never intended on doing it. Now they're saying they're going to do it. I can't handle another fucking swerve. I'll be irritated as fuck if we get to Friday and we don't get these tag team titles unified. And at this point, I don't give a shit. Put it on RK Bro, put it on the Usos, put it on somebody. Honestly, like my honest opinion is put it on RK Bro and let those belts be the feature of Monday Night Raw. Yeah. Because Monday Night Raw, it's missing a champion. Like you could, whatever you want, you could try to mask it. And they did a good job this past week, but like it's glaringly obvious there's not a world champion on Monday Night Raw right now.
Yeah.
In the Liv Morgan situation, Liv Morgan is absolutely terrible. Like, I just feel, and that's a horrible thing to say, but
I like her.
But like when she gets on a microphone, she's just kind of like, it's so fake and so bad that it pulls me out of what I really liked. And I really liked this whole Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and Judgment Day situation. And then you kind of throw her into the mix, and I'm like, let's find somebody else to do this. Let's not have her do it. I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that they're setting up a bait and switch, and Liv is going to join Judgment Day. I think it's more of a possibility that Finn Balor at some point may join the Judgment Day. I think he could benefit the most.
That'd be pretty
I know
interesting.
everybody's saying Tommaso Ciampa, and Edge even teased Ciampa, but
Yeah.
I think the fact that Edge teased it could mean that he's fucking with people a little bit, because his whole character is kind of being smarter than everybody else. I'd like to see Ciampa, but I'd like to see this group have 5 or 6 people. It's about time for a big faction, and then let's let this slow burn into a position where they kind of take over WWE.
Yeah.
Did you catch Alexa Bliss's new theme song?
Yes, I know.
Man, Alexa Bliss's new theme song is dope as fuck, but I need somebody to confirm or deny. I can't tell. It sounds like that's Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is that Avril Lavigne? I know Avril Lavigne was at Alexa Bliss's wedding, so it seems likely that you could get her to sing the theme song, and then setting up even a bigger thought process down the line. WrestleMania 39's in Hollywood. What a cool way for Alexa Bliss to have her interest than Avril Lavigne to perform it live.
Fuck
But
yeah.
someone confirm or deny for me that that is Avril Lavigne on that song. Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is clearly still the best thing in pro wrestling, and I'm willing to make it official at this point in time. With the wrestlers that we have in the business right now, Kevin Owens is the best all-around wrestler and entertainer in the entire world right now. He's the best performer in the ring. He gives the most effort every time he's in the ring. He is by far the best on a microphone, and he's the best when he gets at the commentary booth. Kevin Owens right now, the run that he's on feels weirdly similar to CM Punk's pipe bomb run, where he just kind of did a little bit of everything, and they're never going to put him in the spotlight. But I watch Monday Night Raw waiting for when is Kevin Owens going to be on the TV. That's what I'm watching Monday Night Raw for. And it reminds me of back when I used to watch Monday Night Raw and go, well, when is CM Punk going to be on the TV? But after this Ezekiel thing is concluded, can we please put Kevin Owens back into some title picture?
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, but put him into a legitimate, real, and I'm not this Ezekiel thing, let it run its course. This is great. This has been fucking entertaining as hell. But once it's over and it's got to come to an end, can we get Kevin Owens in a legitimate tag team or something where he is a prominent feature on Monday Night Raw, please?
Yes, sir.
Then last but not least, hot take. What the fuck is going on with Lacey Evans? What the fuck are we watching? I don't know if I'm supposed to be super motivated. To me, when she comes out to the ring, she looks like Malibu's Most Wanted, okay?
Yeah.
It's hey, respect this highly decorated former Marine or whatever she was.
Marine.
And she came out and she fucking hoorah, got the crowd. We appreciate. But she's in a fucking lace bodysuit and fucking army pants that are hanging off her ass crack.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to take her serious? Or am I not supposed to take her serious? I don't, fucking WWE, what do you want me to do with Lacey Evans? What am I supposed to do with this information you're giving me?
Yeah.
Where are we, and when is she going to wrestle somebody? Or is she just is she just a motivational speaker that comes out and for 5 minutes a night kind of makes me feel fucking weird?
And confused.
Yeah, and confused. Where the fuck is that going?
Yeah.
That's my Raw takes for this week. Last but not least, let's get to what I thought was the match of the night on Monday Night Raw this week. So I actually think when all the smoke clears, the main event, it actually benefited from Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of the arena. This match, I think we could have got way worse of a match for something that was obviously just made on the fly, right? Mm-hmm. 2 people leave. Here we go. You 2 are going out there, put on a match. And this match had everything that casual wrestling fans enjoy. 2 of the most talented women in WWE, fucking Asuka, Becky Lynch, can't complain there. And a fun finish with Bianca Belair getting involved and Asuka using the green mist for the win.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that WWE committed to Asuka. And they committed to doing Asuka and Bianca Belair and not like dipping their toe in the water. I was afraid, how do you have Becky Lynch lose this match and not make her look weak? You did it. The green mist was perfect. Perfect visual ending the show. But I'm glad they committed to Asuka and Bianca Belair. It'll give credibility to Bianca Belair's title run to go over on Asuka. Asuka's a fucking crazy ass opponent. Says some wild ass shit, does some wild ass things, but when she gets into a ring, she's the real deal. I think that Becky Lynch, like I said, came out of this match completely unharmed because the mist just gives Becky something to come out and bitch about next week, which she's really good at, right? Just come out, talk shit. But I'm over the goofy Becky Lynch. I'm ready for Becky to go back to a more serious version of Becky Lynch. Let's let Seth Rollins do the goofy shit with the goofy suits and the goofy sunglasses. Let's let Becky Lynch just return back to like the man-esque type character where she's just the real deal. Asuka should be a good test for Bianca. I think they'll put on a hell of a match at I'm assuming that's going to be a Hell in a Cell match. Interesting to see if Asuka shifts into a heel role or if they do kind of the respectful good guy versus good guy type thing. But like from what it's looking like, Hell in a Cell may be shaping up nicely, minus Bobby Lashley and Omos, which I just don't love. But we got Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes is going to be inside of a Hell in a Cell. Still confused about that. Like, who does that benefit really? I don't know. It's a good match. It'd probably make for a great wrestling match. And I had people tell me last time I said that, they were like, oh, but we could watch them wrestle every week, all the time, no matter what. And I'm like, that's great, but it's not moving a story along. And that's what WWE is always trying to do, is move a story along. And that's not doing it. This is just two good wrestlers getting in the ring and wrestling. So hopefully it all comes together and it makes sense. But make sure to tune in this Saturday. We're going to be doing a new show called Casual Smack, which is the Casual Wrestling Community YouTube page, official SmackDown hot take show. It will not be as long as this one. It will be a shorter version of this show where we just go over the things that happen on SmackDown. Also look out for, I have a tier maker list video coming out where I rank the gods of professional wrestling. You can check that out. Agree, disagree, make your own tier maker list, send it to me. We can talk about it. And then look out for the first episode of the CWC draft where we are going to snake draft about WWE topics or just wrestling topics. They don't have to be WWE. But this has been another episode of the Raw Take Show. As always, I am Nerdy D. That is Level Up Lauren, and we can ring that final bell.
Ba-ding, ding, 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 ding.
Step in the ring if you ready.